What is up, 2K crew? Yes, it is that time of the week again. 2Ks, we got a hell of a show planned. I am super fucking stoked. We promised you guys last week baseball, and more fucking baseball, and that's what we're going to give you. We're going to sprinkle in some other cool shit along the way. So sit back, relax, and let us tickle your motherfucking eardrums. 2Ks, man, there's a big elephant in the room right now. Big elephant.
I already know where you're going with it. I thought you just said we were going to talk about cool shit.
Well, no, I said we'd sprinkle in some cool shit. Now, normally I wouldn't rub in a loss, but Cowboys losing to the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that'd be like the Cowboys losing to the Lions. That's kind of disappointing. And
worse. I think it's worse than losing to the Lions. In all honesty.
Yeah, and Dak had a hell of a game. Mm-hmm. Let's just throw that right out there. You don't throw for 500 yards and want 3 or 4 touchdowns and not have a bad day at the offense. It's not the offenses. It's not the offense that's losing these games. Obviously, it's a defense. By the way, folks, the score is 49-38. So yes, there was a lot of yards. Dak went 41 for 58 for 502, 4 touchdowns and a pick. The only reason I know that is it's on the bottom line of the TV right now. But on the flip side, Baker only had like less than 225 yards passing. I mean, it was different types of play. I mean, if you look at the rushing numbers for the Browns, they way outrushed the.
It's just it's the Dallas's defense is so bad. I mean, Jarvis Landry is throwing touchdown passes out there today. Odell Beckham was going to try to throw a touchdown pass, but it was a broken up play that he just turned into a 50-some yard touchdown that he just ran by himself, and Dallas could not. I mean, it looked like they had never had a tackling drill ever in their life. They all were like running away from Odell. I mean, this is the worst defense that I think I've ever seen at any NFL. And you know what? I said it back at draft time. Mm-hmm. When they went with CeeDee Lamb, I did not see them going that way. It's hard to argue CeeDee Lamb, and I know that he was probably the best wide receiver in the draft. And for him to fall to them at where they were picking, you know, they just went with the best player on the board approach. And it was the wrong decision. You had to go defense.
You had to
with that, you know, and it goes back to just some of the decisions that they made all around, even before the draft. When you talk about, you know, the money that they spent on Amari Cooper. Did you really need Amari Cooper? I mean, you had Michael Gallup. If you had, you know, at the time they didn't know that CeeDee Lamb was going to fall to them, but they did know that this was the best wide receiver draft in years. So you knew you were going to be able to get somebody in there that could cover it, and then use that $90 million that you used on Amari Cooper to fix some of the fucking 3, 4, 5 holes that you have on your defense right now. So it is just. Their offense can score with anybody in the league. Absolutely. I would put them up against the Chiefs' offense. Mm-hmm. But the difference is the Chiefs can make enough stops, and Dallas can't make one fucking stop. So
if you put Dallas's offense, I mean, playmaker to playmaker, the only thing Dallas doesn't have is the speed of Tyreek Hill.
Yeah,
that's the only thing. Mm-hmm. They can match up with anybody. They probably have a deeper wide receiver core than Kansas City does.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
They have a way better running back.
Yep.
I mean, Hilaire is good. He's not as proven. Mm-hmm. Could he eventually develop into a back like Zeke? Sure. Yeah, I could totally see that.
And Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league, but Dak is not that far behind. I mean, Dak is an elite.
How many 500-yard games is Mahomes thrown this year? None. Dak has.
Yeah.
And even a couple weeks ago, he went for 450.
Mm-hmm.
So. You're exactly right when you say that their defense is extremely horrible. Mm-hmm. I've never been an Amari Cooper fan. I don't hate him by any means, but is he worth the money that they paid him? Absolutely fucking not. Mm-hmm. And especially
and maybe for some teams he is. Maybe for some teams he is. But when you have what Dallas has right now, and then you have just a fucking shit show for a defense. He's not worth that amount of money in that. You have so much money invested into your running back and so much money invested into some of them offensive linemen on that team, and now you're gonna have to come up with the money for Dak to keep him around, and just what the decisions that they've made. Jerry Jones, centerpiece of all that. It's very, very lacking for very much knowledge with what he's done, and I sit back and I try to understand what the fuck he's doing. I look back at, before you started throwing the money at Zeke and all that, it was Demarcus Lawrence was the first. I haven't seen him get a fucking sack in 3 years since he signed the damn deal. Yeah. And at the time, he became the highest paid pass rusher in the NFL 3 years ago or 4 years ago, and he hasn't done shit since. It's just terrible. And even I look at some of the deals that they did this offseason. Like, they did not get the deal done with Dak, obviously, but we got the deal done with Jalen Smith. Well, Jalen Smith is very mediocre too. Nothing. I mean, he does not do anything on the field on that. I mean, at the college level, yeah, I liked him. I thought he was a very good pick, he's decent. He's been decent in the NFL, but when you're giving up the amount of points week in, week out, you're not very good yourself. No. I mean, obviously the what they did and the money that they spent and where they spent it at this past offseason, it was just a lot of question marks and I don't know. I question where the fuck are we going from this point on. I mean, their offense, like I said, they can score with anybody in the league, but defensively they can't stop anybody, and therefore, they might be good enough to win their division because it's probably the worst division, that I've ever seen from top to bottom.
You're very right.
I mean, regardless of them losing to Cleveland today, they're still going to be tied for first in their division with one fucking win.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, and I think you and I were talking before we even started is that maybe the bad decisions start with the guy at the top.
Absolutely,
the coach. Mm-hmm. How great of a signing was that? And even if you look at the first 3 games, there's been questionable coaching calls and decisions that have backfired horribly against him. And it's like, it's not his first go-round. Mm-hmm. It's not like he's getting his coaching debut. He's coached for a long time.
My question is he really any good? I mean, he had Aaron Rodgers, and he won a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers when Aaron Rodgers was playing at a whole different level. I mean, he was playing at Patrick Mahomes level, and they went on and they won that Super Bowl. But after that, Aaron Rodgers when he wasn't playing, or when he was hurt, and when he wasn't playing to the caliber that he's playing at right now, they weren't winning any games, and they had a lot of talent on that Green Bay team for them not to be winning games, and then to see him leave, and basically LaFleur come in with the same exact team, the same roster,
and go 13-3.
Yes, yeah. And, so my question is McCarthy really? You got to think going at last year's offseason. Obviously, Jason Garrett goes. Mm-hmm. That's the job in the NFL. Like that's a lot of coaches' dream job is to coach the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, a lot of pressure comes with it. Obviously, you have to deal with dipshit Jerry Jones, but that is the job of the NFL. The job. So you have to think that basically everybody was interested in that, and they went with Mike McCarthy, and he was supposed to be the savior. And to this point, I mean, they're a fucking lucky onside kick away from being 0-4 right now.
100%.
And losing to, I mean, they really haven't played against anybody that is that good. I mean, the Rams are decent. But we see them, struggle with the Giants today.
Well, which no one should struggle with the Giants ever right now.
The Falcons, I mean, they can't stop anybody, and they ended up beating the Falcons. That was where the lucky onside kick, but then you lose to the fucking Browns today. I mean, come on. Yeah, it's terrible.
I think going back to Mike McCarthy is that if you look back at those Green Bay teams, he hardly ever rushed the ball, ever. And they had talented running backs. I mean, he put it all on Aaron Rodgers' shoulders and said, "Let's go." And I think, and he from the looks of it, he's trying to do the same thing in Dallas because you really don't put it on your quarterback's shoulders, and that's why he throws for 500 yards. However, I will give it to him. It was a very, very high completion percentage, but still, it's. I don't know. It's one of those things that, unfortunately, 2Ks, I think you're just going to have to ride it out with the season. And I highly doubt Jerry Jones is going to fire McCarthy during the season.
Yeah. And some of it goes on, the offensive coordinator there too. The play calling has been, and it's weird. And if you don't like, if you just look at the box score and you look at, I mean, obviously today they were chasing a lot of points, so obviously Dak had to throw the ball a lot. But if you look at some of the other games, if you look at the box score and you see how many passes and how many rushes Zeke's getting, it looks like it's somewhat balanced. But when you actually watch the games, there's no balance with it. No. They get it, they go pass heavy and they throw the ball 6-7 times in a row. Or they go rush happy and they start to run the ball. But there's no really any balance to it. They just kind of run the same shit all the time, and it's frustrating to watch. There's no, you don't see, because when you have a running back like Ezekiel Elliott, you got to think that if you can get that rush game going a little bit, that's when the play action opens up. Yes. And when the play action opens up, that's when all your big threat, you have 3 big threat receivers that can take it to the house in one play. Yeah. That's when all that opens up, and they can't get any of it going. There's just no balance with it, and it's. But like I said, when they run the ball 6 times in a row or something like that, then at the end of the game, and you look at the box score, it's like, oh well, they're balanced, but really they're not when you watch it. It's the play calling, and I've never seen Kellen Moore is the offensive coordinator. I've never seen.
He is, isn't he?
Never seen so many fucking plays that you can draw up. I mean, like draw up so many offensive plays, and they throw the ball to a receiver that doesn't even cross the line of scrimmage. Like they throw so many short passes that go nowhere. And I watch it and I'm just like, okay, it's 3rd and 9. Let's throw something to the chains or something. No. They throw a pass
3-yard curl.
Yes, and it's not like it's a check down. It's the first look. Yeah. It's Dak's first look, and they're throwing a goddamn 3-yard out to Amari Cooper and trying to make him do something with it. And it just sometimes you have to throw the ball downfield, or you have to at least throw it to the chains to make something happen. You can't just continue to throw the ball 6, 7, 8 yards, short and try to make something happen. It's ugly, and fortunately for them, they've played terrible football. They could possibly turn it around, and they're still tied for first place in that shitty division.
Yeah, but the Giants aren't going to challenge them.
Yeah, and if there's any way that they can figure out something, I mean, if their defense made like 4 stops in the game, they're probably going to win. That's how good their offense is. Mm-hmm. And if there's any way that they can figure it out, find something. They're kind of, and they can somehow sneak in and win and sneak into a playoff berth. They're a team that you don't really want to play because you don't want to play against that offense. That's the only thing I will give them. Now, that defense, shit. You have a field day with that, but their offense is scary. Their offense is, if you're a fantasy football.
Oh, you're loving
that. You want to have Dallas players on your team because they're going to throw points up every week.
Except for Michael fucking Gallup this week. 5 points, which is sweet.
But do not pick up Dallas's defense anytime soon. Don't pick them up. Even if they're playing the fucking Jets, I would avoid them.
Yeah, because they obviously couldn't seal the deal with the fucking Browns. So, well, now that we got you fired up, 2Ks, let's give the people what they want. But before we get into that, next week we got a couple surprises for you. So stay tuned in.
I want to be here.
Yeah, that was going to be one of the surprises, asshole. I wasn't going to tell him that. But we are going to try and do the video portion live on YouTube. So it'll be pretty cool. Let's see if we can pull this off. If not, no, we'll give it. We've done all of this flying by the seat of our pants, so might as well continue the trend. So, but I think it's going to be kind of cool, and it's going to be really cool because I don't have to edit anything. So. Hey, that's even better.
Before we change the subject out of football, too, you see that fucking game Tom Brady had today?
TB12 being TB12.
Yeah, 5 touchdown passes. People were freaking saying that he couldn't do it anymore. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what, that Chargers defense is legit. That's a good defense. A couple of the best defensive backs in the game on the Chargers, and 5 touchdown passes. So all you Tom Brady haters, fuck you.
And for all those Justin Herbert fans, he had a hell of a game too. He went toe to toe with the TB12 legend and almost outdueled him. So, but no, as I was following the ticker on that game because obviously the local game was the Lions and Saints, and
Lions started off fast. They started off like they were going to do something today.
And Drew Brees put about 35 points in a row on him.
Yeah, and then that was the other story too. Was Drew Brees can't do it anymore? That's what I heard this past week.
Well, I was going to say
people were honestly calling for Jameis Winston.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It must be the same people that were saying Tom Brady can't do it anymore, huh?
Yeah. There's Father Time always wins, but you know what? There's still gas in both of those tanks. So even though I'm not the biggest TB12 guy, but when he puts up shit like that, you got to respect the man for what he does. And
Jameis Winston.
Yeah,
I'd rather have Tim Tebow.
Well, as a Bears fan, I think I might rather have Jameis right now.
I won't go that far.
Nick Foles, the savior, did absolute garbage today. But then again, both those defenses are extremely legit. Phillip Rivers couldn't do much with him against the Bears. There's a shit ton of field goals and 1 touchdown, and I needed Jonathan Taylor to get a touchdown, and he was not the one that did it. So, but let's get into this baseball, man, because this is a weird postseason. Weird postseason. A
lot of games. It's a lot of games. That's one thing I like about it so far is that there's always games on. I mean, all through the week.
And they're back to back, and there's no. They just keep the ball rolling, if you will. But kind of go through and give you a recap here, just kind of give you where we're at, and then we'll move forward with some predictions. See where we think. We're going to tell you how we see things playing out. And then once we get to the World Series, we'll kind of give you a recap on how we did, because we tried to do our picks, and then they changed the playoff schedule. Mm-hmm. We tried to do our picks, and then they changed it again. They added the extra team and all this other bullshit. So did it do a lot for the postseason? Sure. Like you said, there's a lot of games. There's obviously some teams in there that maybe shouldn't have been in there, but still it was kind of cool to see. Do I want to see this playoff format go further on? No. I'm going to lead towards the old one. Mm-hmm. I don't like to see half of Major League Baseball in the fucking playoffs. That's not my thing.
Seeing teams with a losing record in the playoffs is just kind of
kind
of reminds me of the East in the NBA. Just you always got like two teams coming out of the East that have a losing record, and it's like, well, they don't even fucking belong. I mean, for years there was the Pistons, and they were and they're playing against Milwaukee. That was just a couple of years ago as the 8th seed. They get swept out. It's just like it's a fucking waste of. And of course, in the NBA, it's a 7-game series, so it's just drawn out. It's like, I don't want to watch this shit 4 times.
No, but one of the cool things with the first round of these playoffs is they are a 3-game series. The second round, or the NLDS, is a 5-game series. Then I believe the NLCS and the World Series are both 7-game series. So let's start off in the American League. We had the number 1 seed Rays face off against the Blue Jays. Tampa won that series 2-0. It was really cool to see the young kids for the Blue Jays. You didn't get to see Bo Bichette, Vladdy, all those guys play a lot during the regular season. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of cool to see them. They're obviously a team that's not ready. I mean, their pitching isn't there, rough. And you could tell even a lot of the young kids just they're rookies. They're not ready, mm-hmm. But Toronto's got a good thing brewing. Obviously with all the talent they have, they just need to put it together, get a pitching staff, and I think they're going to be a lot more competitive. The 4-5 was Cleveland and New York. New York won this one. I was hoping for a better series out of that.
Yeah, I think unfortunately the first game, if best pitcher in baseball, Bieber by far. And to see him get torched, I think that kind of just set the pace for the rest of the
took the air right out of their sails. Yeah.
Cleveland. If Bieber's able to get it done, Cleveland wins that game and they go up 1-0. I think it's probably I think Cleveland probably gets
completely different series. I can 100% agree. But man, the bats, those fucking bats of the Bombers.
They're healthy. I mean, they're getting back to the point where they're healthy and those big names are back there.
Stanton hit at least 2, and if not 3 home runs, at least one in each game. Mm-hmm. And he was a severe question mark going into that series because of his health, and you could see kind of I want to say like the 4 or 5 games leading up to the postseason. He was struggling mightily, and all it took was one swing of the bat, and I want to say like the 4th or 5th inning of Game 1.
Yeah,
it goes deep.
And Aaron Judge took Bieber deep right in the very first inning, just kind of
first pitch he saw.
Game. Yep. And Gleyber Torres was great in the entire series.
It's weird that I'm pretty sure that was the first time all year that anyone hung 7 on Bieber.
Mm-hmm.
So then again, it's one of the best offenses in baseball. As much as
yeah.
it pains me to say that, but it's you got to give credit due where it's credit's due.
And you can't take anything away from Bieber's season off of that game. He's the Cy Young this year. He was the best
Hands
pitcher
down.
in all of baseball, no question about it. Like I said, that was to me that was kind of it set the tone for the whole series. And I get it, it's only a 3-game series, but when you see you get the best pitcher in baseball, obviously your ace, your guy, and he gets torched the way that he did in that first game, I think that was pretty much it for Cleveland.
Yeah, and I don't know how much the lack of Terry Francona not being there was a factor. But I'm sure, I'm not saying that him being in the dugout, him leading that team would have provided any different result. But it's Tito Francona. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Sandy Alomar. He did a hell of a job in Tito's absence, but it's Tito fucking Francona. I mean, he's been there, done that. I mean, Alomar's been right by his side throughout all this, but you never know. You never know. But the 3-6, was again another disappointment in my opinion. The Twins and the Astros. I gotta say, out of all of this, the Twins were the most disappointing fucking team, at least on the American League side.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and that's been the Twins' MA. I mean, that's what they
lost like 18 games in a row or some shit.
Terrible in the playoffs, and that's just a number that you cannot have, and you have to fix that. And eventually, you got to start winning those games. There's too much talent on that team. Obviously, too many power hitters on that team, and even the pitching. Like, there's no excuses for it. I know that they don't have the big name pitchers, but they're deep. They're loaded. They got pitchers, possibly deeper than anybody in baseball.
They fucked around and won the Central.
Yes.
I mean, that's either it was
against there's 3 teams out of the Central and that were in the playoffs there. So those are good teams.
We just mentioned Cleveland, and then we're going to get to the third one. But the third one, I don't know. I don't know if it was more the Sox sucking dick.
Oh yeah, they've been a total different team the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, for any Sox fan, we'll hold off on the Sox, but. Yeah, the fucking Stros.
It sucks, man. Yeah, fucking hate the Stros.
They won 2-0, and like I said, yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
I don't even want to give them any time to talk about him. Except for Carlos Correa, he's a douche.
He is a douche.
We popped off after they won it, and it was like, shut up. You guys, only reason you guys are in the playoffs is because they obviously expanded it. You had a losing record. Like, you would have never been in the playoffs. Yeah. You have no room to fucking talk. You cheated. That's what That's why you won a World Series, because
that's why everyone hates you.
Yeah. So just shut the fuck up. At least the other two have just shut up. Like, Bregman and Altuve have been smart enough to just shut the fuck up.
How many times they get fucking drilled? I shut my mouth too.
But so for some reason, Correa just keeps on trying to act like he's this tough guy. I'm like, you're a douche. Yeah. You're a fucking douche.
Now. Yeah, just the Twins are a huge disappointment. I thought that it's a 3-6 matchup. So yes, obviously the Twins are supposed to be a better team, but obviously they don't play the games on paper. They play them on the field. But fuck, come on. And one last thing about the Astros is it came out the JV had his surgery. It's going to be 12 to 14 months before he's back on the field, which pretty much takes him up to the end of his contract.
Mm.
So we shall see what happens there. Does he stay with the Stros? Does he? Because if my math is right, I'm pretty sure that this injury is going to take him to where he, when he signs his next contract is when he's going to start pitching. So that's going to obviously be a storyline that everyone's going to keep their fingers on.
Because coming back to Detroit.
I wouldn't be mad at that. The only thing that I would be leery of is how much money.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to sign a long-term deal, 3 years max, maybe with an option for 4. But don't overpay for him because of what he did. And on top of that, you got to see how he reacts to this surgery, how he comes back. Do I think he'll come back and be close to the same? Sure, everybody else does, but you never know. It's not like he had this surgery at age 25.
Yeah, exactly.
So like I said, that'll be something that I'm sure throughout all this, everyone's going to be giving their analysis. Everyone's going to have their hot take, and we shall see where it goes. But the last matchup on the AL side is the A's and the White Sox. This one was hard for me, 2Ks, because I'm a big fan of both of these teams.
Oh, don't say that. We hate the White Sox. we hate the White Sox on this podcast. That's a rule.
Well, we got to make Frank happy at least once, because obviously his fantasy football team blows ass, so we have to give him at least a little bit of love. But
fuck that. No. Like, I will not root for the White Sox ever. I will not root for the Bears ever. I will not root for his fantasy team ever, unless he's playing against you.
Well, of course you will, yeah.
Because he has your number.
Fuck yeah, he does. Fuck yeah, it's scary because I got a really good team this year, and I hopefully I didn't check the schedule, but hopefully I only play him once. Everyone else wants to play him twice. Nope, fuck that. But no, just the up and coming players of the White Sox, the energy of that team. They've got things going in the right direction, as well as the A's. I kind of put them on similar planes, even though the A's are probably a year or two more advanced in this process. I didn't want to see him face off in the first round. I wanted to see it deeper, but
yeah, that's the White Sox fault.
the 100%.
Only team that the White Sox had it, and they should have been playing against the Stros.
Yeah, there's no way they should be a 7 seed.
Yeah, so they botched it down the stretch, and they ended up getting a matchup with the Athletics, which is a team that I just would not have wanted to play. They just kind of, and they play with that mentality, like, we have nothing to lose, and we're just going to go out and play, and whatever happens, happens.
Well,
and
Dallas Braden's your fucking mascot.
Yes.
Jesus. Oh, speaking of Dallas Braden, one thing that I found on YouTube, which is absolute fucking gold. And 2K Crew, Kyle and I have been talking about the Starting 9 podcast. And unfortunately, I've been working from home, so I haven't had a whole lot of travel time to actually catch up on this. But on 2K Crew, if you watch any fucking baseball at all, look up Starting 9 on YouTube. They do a live reaction to all the games, and of course, the ones that are most entertaining are the A's games.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, Dallas Braden, I cannot wait. I'll put ESPN up on the TV up here and just listen to him. I could give two shits who's announcing on fucking ESPN. Especially going up against the Astros. Oh my God, this is going to be gold. Yeah. So if you guys want any type of entertainment, please, trust me, you will not. It's going to be gold. It's going to be gold. But no, you're right. The A's they're the 2 seed for a reason.
Absolutely,
they're the 2 seed for a reason, and they're hot. They got hot at the right time, whereas the White Sox didn't, obviously. But
the White Sox peaked in the middle of the season. They were playing better than anybody in the league.
Oh,
they were hitting it. They were hitting the ball so well that it didn't really matter that they had some holes in their pitching. But when they stopped hitting the ball, like they were, then it started to expose some of those holes that they have in the pitching. Obviously, Giolito was awesome. Game 1, freaking just shoved it up.
Almost a perfect game.
Yeah, he was awesome, and that guy is freaking wired for the playoffs. Those big game situations. He reminds me of Stroman. Like in big games, that's when you're going to get the best of him. And now I do think he's a lot better pitcher than Stroman, and and he's going to continue on to be way better than Stroman. But those big games that Stroman.
What the hell happened to Marcus Stroman? He's on the Mets.
Hasn't played in any big games because when that guy's in a big game,
he
Mets, just goes off. And you look at the World Baseball Classic when he pitched in that. That was kind of when we got that was like his coming out party.
Yeah, he was the best pitcher on that squad by far.
Yeah. But the way that Giolito, rocking back and forth, and and just he is wired for that. But after that, it kind of falls off. Even Keuchel's just not. He's not the Dallas Keuchel of a few years ago. When he won the Cy Young, he was very, very mediocre, poor in Game 2. And then
you really when you're Dallas Keuchel, you rely on location because you're not going to blow anyone away with an 85-mile-an-hour fastball.
And
that's just not his deal.
Yeah, and then in Game 3, I think there was obviously Renteria, the manager for the White Sox, had a lot of questions, with his pitching and didn't have very much confidence. I mean, I think he pitched like 8, 9 different guys.
Yes.
I want to say he was on like the last pitcher available in the last inning of that game. So
I would say you could ask people in the stands if they want to pitch, but there's no people in the fucking stands.
So when your manager doesn't have any faith in your bullpen and in your starting pitching after you get past Giolito, then obviously you got some holes to fix. But with that offense, they're not going away anytime soon, and they're only going to continue to get better.
No, where their holes are totally fixable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, totally fixable. You just got to plug the right guys in,
and then you talk about you talk about a young pitching prospect in Kopech who didn't even pitch this year.
No. So and then he's everyone's been so excited to see him, but first year blows out his arm, and then this year he opts out. So it's still up in the air to see what he can do. But yeah, you're right. And at that point, it's like picking up a free agent that you don't have to pay for.
Mm-hmm.
So that's perfect. So let's jump over to the National League side. And the 1v8 was the Dodgers and the Brewers. And to be honest with you, 2Ks, the Brewers kept both those games closer than what I think anyone thought.
Yeah.
And probably the biggest highlight out of this one was Kershaw actually dealing in the playoffs. When you go like 8 innings, 13 Ks, no earned runs, he's never done that in the playoffs, and that's been always his Achilles heel. Is he's fantastic during the regular season and just can't get it done in the playoffs. Well, you know what? This Brewers team is no fucking slouch for an 8 seed.
Mm-hmm.
However, I will say that Yelich was not the Christian Yelich of old. He had a down year.
He had a rough year. Never got it going on.
So many other people had a down year, and I think the only one that didn't was Josh Heater. I mean, he did stuff he normally does. I mean but it was just an off season for the Brewers. I mean, when you constantly contend in the NL Central, and the NL Central sent three teams, so the Central on both sides was absolutely I'm not going to say a shit show, but it kind of was because it was so just competitive.
Just beat up on each other.
Yeah. But no, I think a lot of people going into this series just expected the Dodgers just to trounce them. But it was a couple runs each game, if I'm not mistaken. Did LA win both games? Sure, but it wasn't like a 10-1 or 15-2 or something like that. Where you would think the firepower of the Dodgers being the Dodgers, and there was a couple times that the Dodgers were behind even. So were they tested? Yes. Did they just walk through the Brewers? No. No. But Brewer fans, during a regular season, you're not going to see Christian Yelich struggle and bat 200. It's just not going to do it. Not going to do it. So next year, I would bet my whole card collection that Yelich bats over 300 again next year. It's pretty much a solid. I'm going to save the next one for last, 2Ks, because that 4-5 matchup was my favorite. And we're going to jump to the 2-7 because the 3-6, I got to eat some crow on this one. And I don't want to. But 2-7 was Atlanta and the Reds. And you talk about, and Atlanta won this series 2-0. You talk about, if you want to see, if you're a fan of pitchers duels, both those fucking games were pitchers duels. Mm-hmm. The first one, I think, went 13 innings or some shit. Mm-hmm. And Trevor Bauer pitched a hell of a game. And Atlanta actually shut out Cincinnati in both games. But I think combined, Atlanta scored 3 runs.
Yeah. So
you talk about a fucking pitcher's duel that could have went either way. Way. Now, 2K crew, I dig my Braves, but man, there's something about that Reds team that I just really love. Trevor Bauer leading that pitching staff. First of all, if you don't follow Trevor Bauer on YouTube, you need to, because that dude has one hell of a channel. And you talk about, he does vlogs. He does, what's really cool is he'll break down at bats with certain players that he's had over the years, and break down pitch selection in games. I mean, he's extremely outspoken. He does not have a censor in him.
No.
He tells you how it is, and he's on top of that, he's developed. He might be your NL Cy Young, hands down. I think there's more competition in the NL for the Cy Young than I think in because Bieber's got it wrapped up in the AL. I really couldn't even think of another AL pitcher that you could even put in a class of him right now. But yeah, if you like pitching duels, man, whew, and there was some very stressful innings for for both teams in both those games. But like I said, when you win a series 2-0 and only score 3 runs, yeah.
Yeah, that Braves team, I just can't figure them out yet. It seems like they're the team that they should just dominate, but they just don't. And last year, they were I thought they were kind of the embarrassment of the playoffs with the games that they played, and wasn't there the one game where they got beat by like 13 runs or something like that? And I want to say whoever they were playing hung like and they hung like 9 or 10 in the first inning or something of that game.
I remember that.
And it was just like when so many good players on that Braves team, and yes, I mean they faced 2 of the best pitchers in the National League.
Yes.
I mean obviously Bauer. If I had a vote for who should be the Cy Young of the National League this year, he would be 100%. He would definitely be that. And then with Castillo, there's not much of a drop off going into him either.
That kid is fucking filthy.
The only thing with Cincinnati is their bullpen was very, very weak. Especially when you get to that back end of that, Lorenzen just did not have a very good year, and then the other one,
they did a hell of a job
because
they held a very good offense to 3 runs in 2 games.
Yeah.
So
Iglesias ended up getting banged around in game 2, so they ended up giving up 5 runs in game 2, and it was only 1-0 going into the eighth inning, and then Iglesias got hit around a little bit, but no, it's but just getting back to the Braves, I've always been a Braves fan. I mean, after the Tigers, the Braves have been my second team, and now I don't think there's anybody that's even in the same class as the Dodgers this year in the National League, but
the offense for Atlanta, I would put up against them.
Yeah, sure. I mean, they should, and on paper, yes, but when you actually watch it play out, you're like, I mean, maybe they're not. Maybe they're just not as good. Maybe they're still a year or 2 away, and I feel like they're that team that we just keep on saying, give them 1 more year. Give them one. Well, how many more fucking years are we going to give these guys? Because I've been saying that for 3 years, so I'm waiting for it.
And I mean, it sucks that Soroka went down with the Tommy John. But the pitching's not been this Braves team is probably the most roller coaster team in this whole fucking playoffs. They're cold. When they're cold, they're cold.
Yeah.
But when they're hot, they're gonna hang 12. So there might be another team that's quite like that. We're gonna get to them here shortly. But Cubs fans.
What the fuck happened?
Cubs fans, my God, this is the disappointment on the NL side. For fuck's sake.
I mean, we could say the same thing about both Chicago teams. They both they both scuffled at the same time, and unfortunately, they chose to scuffle at the worst part of the season.
At least the Sox got a game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure the Cubs. I want to say that I saw a stat. They had the worst home batting average this year, even including the playoffs, in the history of the Cubs. The Cubs have been around for like 200 fucking years. With that lineup, how in the fuck can you bat 151 or however what they batted the whole fucking series against the Marlins?
Mm-hmm.
The Marlins. And yes, this is the part where I have to eat crow. The Jeets, the Marlins.
And the guys that were hitting a little bit for the Cubs are the guys that, not necessarily the big names. Ian Happ was their best player in the postseason.
I'm pretty sure Ian Happ led the team in home runs the whole year.
Yeah. And but where's Javi Baez? Obviously I know Chris Bryant was hurt for most of the season,
Where's
and
Rizzo?
Yes. Where are those big names?
Jason Hayward.
Nowhere to be found.
I'd be willing to bet Jason Hayward had a higher batting average.
Absolutely, he did. Jason Hayward was the second best hitter behind Ian Happ throughout.
You look at 2016. Jason Hayward was a fucking offensive, just debacle. Like he was the weak link. There were so many Cubs fans wanting to bench him, but you can't because he's the best right fielder in the game. His offense is what sucked. And now he came around, and then next thing you know, big shout out to Jeff Burton, one of our biggest fans. We kind of had to talk him down a little bit. He was very, very upset, and he was ready to take the trip to Chicago to see if he could pinch hit because he couldn't do any worse than the Cubs offense. And you know what, Jeff? You're not wrong.
No, when you're playing a playoff series, and yes, I get it. They only played 2 games, but those names, those Anthony Rizzos and those Chris Bryants and Javi Baez and
Wilson Contreras,
Kyle Schwarber and Wilson Contreras, those big names, they got to show up. And between Rizzo, Schwarber, and Chris Bryant to go 0-for, I mean,
they went 0-for in both games.
Yeah,
fuck.
That's
the reason they lost.
Mm-hmm.
And last time I checked, the Marlins didn't have a super badass starting rotation.
No,
I can't even name you a starting pitcher for the Marlins.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
it's sad.
You know what? I got to give props to the Marlins and Jeter. Obviously, he knows something that we don't.
He's a fucking captain. You're talking about the captain.
You could be a player. You don't have to know about shit that goes on in the front office. Are you fucking kidding me?
Oh, I think Jeter fucking knows what he's doing. I mean, you can not like the guy, but you have to respect the guy. And
well, I think you and I both laughed at a couple trades that he did.
Oh, absolutely. But
now they're coming to fruition. Even though we thought he gave away Stanton, and some of those dudes are making waves. So he might obviously either he hires some very good scouts, but you know what, it is what it is. It is what it is. But yeah, for the Cubs, just they basically laid down.
Mm-hmm.
They said, you know what, we made the playoffs. That's fine.
And they got good starts from both pitchers. Darvish was great in Game 2, and even Hendricks. I think he ended up giving up 3 earned runs or something like that, but still was good enough to win the ballgame. You have to think, if you go out and pitch, and you're a pitcher for the Chicago Cubs, and you give up 3 runs over 6 to 7 innings, you ought to be winning that game,
or at least be contending.
Yes,
and they fucking weren't.
They didn't. They scored 1 run, 1 run in 2 games. I mean, obviously that's not going to win very many games.
No.
They scuffled at the wrong time. To start the season, they were probably they looked like the best team in the National League when the
Chicago had 2 of the hottest teams in baseball.
Yes,
that was. That whole town should have been singing, but you're right. They both took a shit at the wrong time. Now,
which I love. Which I fucking love.
Yeah, you know what? The Cubs fans, when Cubs fans are going good, I'm not making it. I'm not saying all of them, but there's some of them that can get rather cocky. But it is.
They just fucking think they know everything. That's what gets me. They fucking know everything. They have the fucking answer for everything. And it's just the Chicago way. They think they know everything. Yeah.
And in their Chicago drawl with it too.
Yeah. Hey, Chicago, fuck you.
But let's get into this one. Turned out to be my most favorite series out of all of them. It was the 4-5 on the NL side. Slam Diego and St. Louis. St. Louis is and has been probably for the last 15 years. That team is just the steady Eddie. Make the playoffs, make noise, or get really deep in the playoffs. And last 15 years or so, I'm pretty sure they've won one.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they're that team I could never figure out. They always start out looking like shit, and the next thing you know, they're in the playoffs making noise. So kudos to them. Adam Wainwright is still pitching. I mean, he started game 2, I believe.
2.
Looked fantastic. Because St. Louis won game 1.
Yep.
And in our little group chat, I was asking, why didn't they start Flaherty game one?
Mm-hmm.
I was just curious, and someone in our chat said he pitched the last game of the season,
Mm-hmm.
which makes sense with the schedule. But man, same group chat. I was talking shit about Fernando Tatis Jr., one of my favorite players right now. Between game 1 and game 2, he had left 10 men on base. At the point that I sent this text, he had just struck out with the bases loaded. After that,
you pissed him off.
The dude just went the fuck off. By the time the end of game 2, he's gone deep twice. Will Myers has gone deep twice. Manny Machado,
because they went back to back.
Yes, they did. They did. It was kind of cool. It was like to the day that the last time 2 players on the same team hit 2 home runs in postseason was Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, I think. And it was like almost to the exact day, which is really, really weird. But no, Slam Diego. I mean, these kids are so good.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that might hold them back, and I hope Clevenger gets the nod and he can pitch in this next series.
Yeah.
Because that will help them immensely. Because they're like top 3 pitchers. Two starters, I believe, and one bullpen guy, like their 8th inning guy, did not play in the first series because they were hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that having those guys would have made a different outcome, because they did end up winning the series 2-1.
Yeah, and I mean they basically just went kind of threw together a rotation for game 3.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody pitched more than 2 innings.
No.
And they shut them out. So they figured out something there, but Paddock kind of been being their horse all season long, and he got roughed up in game 1. They ended up losing that game. And then game 2, they were able to get it figured out. Obviously, when you hit as many home runs as they're capable of hitting when they get hot, it makes it easy.
On the other hand,
they still didn't pitch the ball well.
I want to say that the final score of that game was 11-9 or some shit. So it's not like they were pitching a shutout by any means.
No. And fortunately for them is they can throw a lot of runs up. So when they do that, they're gonna be hard to beat regardless. But you're gonna get into this better competition, and you're gonna have to play against the Dodgers. And the Dodgers are going to be able to hit, they can hit just as many home runs as you guys. Yeah. The difference is they got Clayton Kershaw and they got Walker Buehler on that side. Mm-hmm. Then even getting in, I would take their bullpen over San Diego's bullpen at this point. Clevenger's a big deal, though. If you can get Clevenger back.
That's probably let's be honest. They're going to go into the series against the Dodgers, obviously being the underdog. Mm-hmm. But to have Clevenger to be that, I don't know if equalizer is the right word, but Clevenger was awesome all year. I mean, he was awesome all year. Came over on the trade deadline from Cleveland, so to bolster that starting rotation. And like I said, it was probably better for San Diego being a 3-game series, because if it was a 5 or a 7. Those pitching woes probably would have been even more exposed, and they might not have made it past that round. But the way it's set up right now, and again, I'm liking the 3-game series in this more than just the 1-game playoff. Because the 1-game playoff, I mean, there's a lot of these that would have been changed. Mm-hmm. So got some more baseball, but yes, and I was pumped. I watched all 3 of these games because I didn't get to see a lot of San Diego. Mm-hmm. Games, but looking at that infield, my dear Lord. Now, there's a lot of folks that that are saying that the biggest chink in Tatis Jr.'s armor is his defense. I don't see it.
No,
I don't see it. I mean, is he as polished as a Manny Machado at short? Not yet. Not yet. But what is he, like 20?
Yeah, 21.
Yeah, so this kid's gonna be the real deal, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't follow him now, follow him, because he's one of the most exciting players to watch. And if the Angels continually miss the playoffs, this kid might become the face of baseball because San Diego's not going anywhere. They're a team on the rise that are going to be in the playoffs for many years to come. And the numbers that this kid keeps putting up are just phenomenal. So you've got him at short, Machado at third, and
Cronenworth, he went off.
Yeah.
And, in this series, like he was after Tatis, he was the next best player on the team throughout that series at second.
And the one that gets the shaft or gets forgotten is Eric Hosmer.
Oh yeah, I mean
Eric Hosmer is one of the best fielding first basemen in baseball.
Unfortunately, he just never has figured it out to be consistent at the plate.
You're right.
In Kansas City, he was to me he was so much better in Kansas City. I don't know what happened when he went to San Diego. He started to fucking strike out all the time, which is something that he didn't do a whole lot.
There was no one around him. I'm very impressed.
He didn't do a whole lot of striking out when he was in Kansas City. The defense is there. There's no question.
He came up with probably one of the most clutch hits in Game 3 of that series, though. I'm pretty sure that got San Diego on the board. They went back-to-back doubles, but no, fielding wise, he's yeah. So
and he did have a good season this year. I want to say he was just off 300, I think he was double-digit home runs. So he did have a good season. Last season he was really bad.
Yeah.
It was like we thought that was a really really good signing, and then after watching him last year, it was like maybe it wasn't the signing that we thought. He was better this year. Wasn't very good in this past series though. Like you said though, he did have the big hit.
Yeah, but his glove's always going to play. Mm-hmm. So they just looking defensively, they might have one of the best infields in baseball. And I'm drinking the Slam Diego Kool-Aid, even though I know what everyone's going to say. Turbo, they're not going to hit that many home runs in every game. I realize that.
But I hope they can fucking do it against the Dodgers though.
Yes. And you know what? Out of the teams left, I think they have the best chance to beat the Dodgers on the National League side.
Yeah,
I really do.
They can score runs. If you can score a lot of runs and get into that shootout style with them.
Yeah, that's about because
if the Dodgers don't win the World Series, I mean it is just an absolute choke job. I mean you're talking about.
I can't wait when they don't, and every Dodgers fan their heads explode.
Yeah,
it would be an awesome day if that happened.
I hope it does happen. I really fucking agree. I just don't see it happening. I don't see how anybody can beat them in a 7-game series.
I don't see anyone doing it on the National League side. On the American League side, I think there's 2 teams that can do it. Unfortunately, well, there's 3 teams that can do it, I think.
Oh, I mean, yeah, they can do it. I mean, this is baseball that we're talking about also, but so, it's not like basketball where normally the best team wins, or football where the best team doesn't always win in baseball, and so it can happen, but you get to the World Series and you're playing in a 7-game series. When there's 7 games, it's hard to beat a team of the Dodgers caliber in a 7-game series. You got to beat them 4 times. That can be very tough to do.
Well, let's go through rapid style 2Ks. I'll give you a matchup. You tell me who wins. Let's start on the American League side. These are. The first one is Rays Yanks. First time ever meeting in the postseason. I'm taking Rays. Because that's one of my picks.
I'm taking the Rays also because I think the Rays pitching.
Yes.
I love their pitching, and I think their pitching can kind of tone that Yankees offense down a little bit. I mean, they're still going to score runs, but the Rays can score runs too. But I think when it comes down to it, the Rays pitching is a lot better than the Yankees.
Agreed. I already know who you're going to pick in the next one. Astros, A's.
Yeah, you don't even need.
No,
I'm not. Like I said, I'm not talking about that team. Athletics.
So we got Rays, A's in the ALCS. Who you taking there?
I'm gonna stick with the Rays. The pitching.
That's gonna
Rays pitching.
It's gonna be a great fucking series.
Great.
I mean, hands down. I mean, it's one of those teams I want them both to win just because they're really good teams. But I'm with you with the.
I don't like the Athletics pitching as much as I like the Rays pitching. Athletics pitching is coming. It's up and coming, and it's gonna get there. But man, that Rays pitching staff is loaded, and their offense. I mean, their offense has improved every single year. It seems like to, a lot of young talent there, and a lot of things to be. We talk a lot. We took a lot of time in this podcast talking about that young talent that the White Sox have. Man, this Rays team, and the A's also. But we really haven't talked about the Rays, and they're just kind of a team that just slides under the radar. And Kevin Cash being the manager there,
always have been.
That's turned out to be one of the best hires as a manager in a long in baseball in a long time. So yeah, I'm picking the Rays.
Yeah. So we both have the Rays in the World Series. And let's go AL side or NL side. We've got Dodgers, Padres.
Dodgers. I mean, I want the Padres to win this series so bad, and trust me, I will be rooting hard for them. And I hope Tatis just fucking goes off. But I just don't see it. They're not at that point yet. This is the Dodgers. I mean, the Dodgers have choked three fucking years in a row now.
7.
Yeah. I mean, so. Now they're basically put in all the cheat codes to get the all Madden team.
The Game Genie?
Yeah, they have the a cheat code for a team and they're just going all out for it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately I think that it's gonna get them there. They're gonna get to at least the World Series. But yeah, I just don't see the Padres being ready yet to win that.
If this was a 3-game series rather than a 5, I'd be more apt to pick San Diego. Just because it would be easier to take 2 rather than 3.
Yeah, and you're not probably, and then in a 5-game series, you're probably going to see Kershaw twice.
Yep.
And if Kershaw or Buehler, either one.
I was just going to say that.
So when you got to see one of those guys twice, I agree with you. A 3-game series, it could be a whole different thing.
Yeah, but being that it's 5, I mean, do I want it to happen? Absolutely, but you'd be silly not to take the Dodgers on this one. Probably the matchup that really doesn't matter, the Marlins and the Braves. Like I said, this one's weird because who knows what Braves team is going to show up. And I think the only reason the Marlins are there is because the Cubs just didn't show up. So I'm taking the Braves on this one.
Yeah, I think the Braves easy. Braves sweep.
Yeah. So we're left with the Dodgers and the Braves. I think this is going to be a better series than what most people think. I think this will go 7. I really do. 6 or 7. It's definitely not going to be a sweep.
Yeah, I don't see it as a sweep, but I do see the Dodgers. Dodgers winning it fairly easy. I think the Dodgers win. Dodgers and Rays.
So we got Dodgers, Rays, 2Ks. If you're betting a paycheck, on it, even up, no points. No spread, no nothing. Who you taking? Easy money says Dodgers.
Yeah.
You know what? Scared money don't make none, son.
No, I'm sticking with the Dodgers though. I picked the Dodgers at the beginning of the season. They're just loaded. I mean, that team is fucking loaded. It's not even fun to how loaded they are. And I think I don't see it happening anywhere. I think it's kind of funny that they're probably going to win the World Series.
Shit.
They're probably going to win the 60-game season World Series, and that just kind of plays into it because they've botched World Series after World Series, and they've come up with so many fucking excuses, and now they're going to win the 60-game season World Series and
watch this play. This play, I don't want to cut you off, but this play is, watch him go into the fucking end zone. We're watching the Niners. Oh, the
one guy got hurt.
Dude for the Eagles pulls up lane with a hammy instead of making the play.
That's Ayak. That's the rookie.
Yeah.
That was sick, though.
That was probably one of the best hurdles because he had to get up and over way higher than normal.
Oh, yeah. That was sick. Fuck yeah.
Anyways, but you know what? You're right with the Dodgers.
Yeah, they've choked World Series after World Series, and now they're gonna probably win this one in a 60-game season. And I think it's just kind of funny because
they'll win the Astros World Series.
They're gonna spend the entire offseason trying to explain that this World Series is just like any other World Series, and every other baseball fan. Anybody that follows anything to do with baseball is going to fucking rip right back at them and say, no, this isn't the same. And it's not. This is not the same World Series that, that was won last year. It's not.
Right.
This is not the World Series. This is a whole different season. It's a 60-game season. Guys who were just in 60 games, guys are just starting to hit their mark. They're just starting to hit their stride in a normal season. So 60 games and then you're into the playoffs. Fuck that. I'm not buying into it. If my team was playing for it, would I root for it? Absolutely. But am I gonna like treat it like it's a regular season World Series? Fuck no.
No, but you know what? I'm gonna go opposite. I'm going Rays. I'm going Rays just because I don't know. They're just that team that no one really expects to do anything. It just hangs around. And I think out of any of the teams, like you said, their pitching is probably the best that'll line up against the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
So there was this dude in one of the I was watching a card break the other night, and this dude's like, man, World Series pick, Rays, Marlins. I'm like, first of all, that would be the least watched fucking World Series in the history of the World Series. It actually might be one of the most boring, but yeah, that's definitely not going to happen. Not going to happen. The Rays will get there, but no. So ladies and gentlemen, giving you our postseason breakdown. And I know for a fact we're going to get a lot of comments from Cubs fans and a lot of comments from Sox fans. But you know what? Your teams both sucked. They really did. They sucked their way into the playoffs. The only one that was worse was the Astros, having a less than 500 record getting in the fucking playoffs. So that's it. All we got to do now is sit back and watch baseball and see how our picks pan out. But I think the one thing I do like, like we talked about, is it seems like there's games every night.
Mm-hmm.
Every night. And I know during the regular season, the playoffs, it's like that. But this first round was crazy because you were having games starting at noon and not getting and then the last game was one of the West Coast games with 10.
Mm-hmm.
So you could watch baseball all fucking day.
That's one thing throughout this entire, debacle that we've been, living in the last 6-7 months,
2 years
is obviously we went without sports for a couple months there and shit sucked and it was awful. And then when they started to figure it out and they started to bring everything back, man, it's been nice. Like when it started off with the NBA playoffs, NBA was starting at like 1:00, and it almost had like that feeling like you were watching March Madness, a little bit because we were watching it in the middle of the day. And then baseball, they do the same thing, and then obviously the NFL has been pretty much the same schedule that we're always used to, where we get to watch NFL on Thursday, Sunday, and then Monday night also. So we've got pretty much the same thing. The only thing that we really haven't gotten back yet, for all of us that living here in the Midwest is Big Ten football. And once we get that, which we're gonna get here in a couple of weeks, then it's gonna be like we got everything back. Yeah. So it's exciting.
It was weird for a second Saturday not having a Notre Dame game on.
Yeah,
because they had the game with Wake Forest, I believe, the week before postponed, and then this was their built-in bye week. Yep. So it was like, man, what? Okay. I just want to make sure I'm not missing something. But no, you're very right. You're very right. It's good to see at least. Well, let's say for the most part, let's all take a moment and just hope that the COVID outbreaks in the NFL don't get more rampant, because the last thing I want to do is shut down the NFL season, because, I mean...
Fortunately, where we're at now from where we were at, and I don't want to try to get into like a spiel like I'm some health professional, but in the beginning of all this, we really didn't have all the testing that we have now, to where with everything that we have, that these... the NFL and the NBA and the MLB, and with everything that they have, basically, as soon as they walk into the clubhouse or into the locker room, and they can be tested whenever they need to be tested, and the results can come back so fast that they can get on top of everything before I think it will turn into a major problem where, we might see, we're probably going to have weeks where you might see 1-2 players out on a team or something like that. But I don't think you're gonna
look at the Saints this week.
Yes,
they had 3 players on offense, 3 players on defense.
Yes, but I don't think we're not gonna get a thing where like a whole team drops down. I mean, I don't see that happening. So,
I mean, it started off first with the Titans Pittsburgh game that got moved to week 7.
Mm-hmm.
But selfishly, I really want this season to keep going because this is one of the better fantasy football teams I've had in quite some time. So, yes, I'm all about me, 2K crew, but sometimes, I'm normally a team player, but you know what? Sometimes you got to look out for number one, 2Ks. You got to look out for number one because I really wouldn't want the week that you and I go head to head for you to have like 3 dudes down with COVID and I totally beat that ass. But I think that's it, man. I think that's it. We did our due diligence with the baseball, which that's not really anything hard to do because you and I can talk baseball all day. It's just whether our 2K crew wants to hear about baseball all day, which probably most of them don't because everyone says it's fucking football season. But you forget it's postseason baseball season. So without further ado, I guess we'll wrap this one up before I burp right into the microphone. That was awesome. But as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.